Day 4, lesson 1, parallel lines. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to compare two lines at the same time to each other. Okay, so you take these two lines. This is what you should expect when you see parallel lines. They're two lines. They are not intersecting, but they have the same slope, which means they have the same rise and the same run. Okay, that's what parallel lines look like. Doesn't matter the direction. They can be going up, down, straight across, straight up and down, but they have to be parallel with the same slope. If you write the equation, it's going to make a little bit more sense. So if I write the equation for this, I want to write it in this format so that I can see what the slope is. So this equation starts at positive 1. It's my y-intercept. And my slope is up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 5. So 2 over 5x. There's my equation for that line. Okay. Now, I want to compare it using the same equation. I want to use slope-intercept for the same reasons of matching the slope here and matching the slope in the equations. So here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. My y-intercept is at negative 4. My slope is up to over 5. And there you go. And the reason these are parallel is because both slopes are exactly the same. So even if you don't have a graph, if you can identify them having the same slope, they're parallel. Now, the y-intercept doesn't matter. It really doesn't. This line could be lower, this line could be higher. They would still be parallel if they have the same slope. Now, let's say you have a word problem with this. Write an equation that is parallel to this equation, but goes through this point. Now, this is what you do. You're comparing this line to another line that you want to write in the same format. You want to write it the same way so you can match up the slopes. Now, because it says they will be parallel, you can write down the same slope. They should have the same slope. What they won't have is the same y-intercept. So that's what you have to find out, the y-intercept. Now, how do you do that? With the point that they give you. They give you a point that it goes through. So you're going to use this as your x and your y, and you're going to plug that into the equation. So I'm going to put a 4 over here, and I'll put a negative 9 over here. Okay, so that multiplies 2, 3 times negative 9 over 1. That's going to become negative 18 over 3. I got to simplify that to negative 6. So this problem now looks like this. 4 equals negative 6 plus b. Because that's what happens when you multiply these two things together. Now, if I want to solve for b, it needs to be by itself, which means you have to cancel out the negative 6 that's with it using inverse operations. It's gone. Now you get b equals 10. So the line that is parallel to this, that goes through this point, is y equals 2/3 x plus 10. This is the other line that is parallel to that line. And they have the same slope, and the y-intercept is different. And that's how you do it. Okay? That's how you find the equation for a line that's parallel. Now, how can you tell if two lines that they give you are parallel? So sometimes they won't give you the format. They won't give you the slope-intercept. They won't give you mx plus b. But guys, you need this. You need this to identify what the slope is. So what we have to do here in this case is we actually have to rewrite both of these equations to look like that. So let's start with the first one. Now, if you want this to look like that, the y needs to be by itself. What do you have to get rid of? That negative 7. That negative 7x has to move to the other side. Using inverse operations, we're going to add 7x to both sides. This will cancel out. Y will be by itself. The equal sign is now there. Now, these two numbers don't add up because they're not like terms. So how do you write it? Write it like this. Start with the term with x first. 7x plus 3. And ladies and gentlemen, there's the first equation. Now, you're going to compare it to the other one right here. So now we got to take this equation and change this also to look like that. Now, in this case, I'm going to move the 14x right here, again using inverse operations. And again, you're going to see that these are not like terms. So even though this cancels out, these numbers don't combine. So what do you do next? Well, the y isn't completely by itself yet. You got to get rid of that 2. Now that 2 isn't subtracting y though. This isn't y minus 2. This is negative 2 times y. So the inverse operation is divide by negative 2. Now when you divide everything by that number. So now this equation will have a positive y, because negative and negative makes positive. The 2's cancel out, you're left with y. Equal sign stays in the same place. Negative 14 divided by negative 2 is positive 7. Positive 28 divided by negative 2 makes negative 14. And there is my second equation. Now they are both in the same format, slope-intercept. And I wrote it like this so I can compare their slopes. If I look at their slopes, oh, they're the same number. They are identical. These are parallel because their slopes are identical. Okay, that's parallel lines.